Hello everybody, welcome back to Dominions 5. Here's another episode in the tournament finals where we were playing as MA Ulm. And we were off to a rocky start. We were off to a great start. We expanded very well. Then we had a terrible war against Pythium. And then we got 2v1'd by the Elves and the Frost Giants. We were able to Diplo into attacking the Elves. Unfortunately, the Elves took most of our outlying lands here and here. And because we're fighting the Giants, we're not really able to contest and raid that back, which means we have no income, which means we're forced to trade a lot of stuff with Ys to get gold so that we can keep fighting our war against the Giants. Fortunately, the war against the Giants is, all things considered, going pretty well. We completely destroyed their Doom stack with clever use of Wailing Winds and just a bajillion Iron Blizzard casters, just totally murdering all their scrawny thugs. It was very satisfying. Now we have marched our main army, and we're sitting on top of the capital, and we have breached the walls. But let's look at the turn here. So we're counter-raiding a bit, trying to get some of our land back. Oh, 2 werewolves here. Oh, I think what happened here is I just patrolled out to reclaim this fort, but he moved a thug on top, and so my guy just died, I think is what happened there. Yeah, same thing on this fort, but on this fort, because he only had like a scout or like a commander here, so we won the battle here, but on the other fort he moved in a thug, so too bad for us. He's got 3 thugs in this province. This is Jabero. Oh, this is where we had the epic battle. So he's moved back on top with 3 thugs. So guys, remember, we killed like 4 fully geared Scrotty. There are at least 4, if not 6 more that I can see fully geared Scrotty out there. So he's got a ton. Okay, here we see a battle between Vanheim and Ind. And so Vanheim is relying a lot on... Oh, this is PD, it looks like. But he's relying a lot on Einheirs, which are fantastic units. 16 protection plus Berserker 5 gives them super high protection and super high damaging attacks. Very, very strong units. There's a few Sacreds here too. And then he's got Storm Power, so he's going to do a bunch of either Air Elementals or Thunder Strikes. Now, on inside, we have the Cynocephalians and Gog Reavers, which are pretty good units. They have 3 attacks per, they're size 3, decent hit points. They don't have as great protection as the Einheirs. They'll get to 15, but they're also incredibly killy. So these are also very strong units. Now, with these you get 6 attacks per square. With these you also get 6 attacks per square because these are size 2. One of the issues is that if I consider a matchup between these two, so the attacks per square are roughly the same. The damage per attacks is also, frankly, very similar. If you add the strength from Berserker, even assuming both had strength of Giants, they would be just as killy. But these don't quite have the same protection. Actually, I'm curious. If you look at their recruitment, I think the Einheirs are just better units. God, the Einheirs are... Oh, wait, no. Well, okay, what's the gold cost for these? I have to double check what it costs to recruit these. These actually have low MR, which I didn't realize how low the MR is, although the morale is fantastic. They're Berserkers. It doesn't really matter. Oh, the MR is pretty average there. Yeah, pretty comparable units. I think if you can buff the protection, these guys are going to come out on top, because with extra protection and their extra hit points, you're going to... this is weird. I'm specifically considering a matchup between 2 of these guys versus, 3 of these guys is what I'm thinking. So I'd have to do the math, but my gut feeling... Okay, look, these guys are going to have 21 protection. We're assuming no protection buff, so 21 protection because of the Berserker 5. Although the Berserker 5 might not trigger immediately. So the first hit, let's say he's at 16 protection, but then you know, 21 slashing. The issue is that with only 12 hit points, with a bit of bad luck, these guys can get one shot, or certainly two shot. Because even when they are berserk, but being berserk implies you already took a hit. So let's say you lost a bit of hit points, you're 21 protection. These guys, let's say they're berserk, they're doing 21 plus, they've got, plus strength, so they're doing 20 something, 3 or 4. Let's say we have strength of giants going up, so we're doing in the 25 range. It's totally within the realm of possibility that even after they're berserk, these guys get one shot by one of the attacks. But since all of these attacks are going on the same unit, I think these guys just get one shot. Whereas on the receiving end, the problem is with only 11 protection, you're taking 21 damage. You're taking a good 10 damage plus or minus on the first hit. And then the second hit, maybe your berserk went off. You're or actually, I don't know the exact timing of that. That would depend on the combat speed. Without protection buffs, these guys just murder each other. With protection buffs, I think these guys come up on top because the protection, with Army of whatever, this will go up to, both will buff their protection. These guys will get more of a protection buff than these guys will. So I think that puts the advantage on these guys, in these guys' camp. I mean, they have other disadvantages, but I'm just saying, I think I like this better. Their defense is naturally higher, too. But I don't think Ind is bringing any protection buffs, which seems like a giant problem. Now, the other thing is these sacreds here, so his bless is kind of rainbow. He's got attack, defense, blood surge, stuff like that. He's got strength to make them a little killy. The problem, I think, is that 18 defense, 14 protection is not enough to stand up to berserkers, because these guys have a decent attack skill, and the number of attacks, the attack density is really going to bring down your defense from harassment. So hits are going to get through, and as soon as a hit gets through, that's going to be a hit for 25 damage or whatever with buffs. Against 14 protection, you can just get one shot. Although he's got Undying, he's a sacred, so it's going to be maybe 2 or 3 shots. Meanwhile, you're doing 20 damage slashing because you got Blood Surge, maybe you got Strength of Giants, got a decent attack skill. So you're getting, but the protection here is 21. So you're doing chip damage, but you're only doing 3 attacks per square of chip damage with these guys. So this is, look, these berserkers are fantastic units, and I don't think these sacreds quite match up to them. Now, if they get buffed, that's another question. But there's not a big mage core over here. We've got a bit of a communion going up, so that. Okay, he's got his guy doing fanaticism. Fanaticism isn't well. It's good to put up, but a lot of his guys are berserkers, so it doesn't matter. So he's doing communions, but these are just pure astral mages. I'm not seeing any buffs whatsoever. This is a little late in the game to be fighting with no buffs. Now, to be fair, I'm not seeing many buffs. Well, maybe we are. Let's see what gets cast. So Thunder Strikes. Yeah, see? At least we have Strength of Giants going off on all of these guys. We're not now, to be fair, Vanheim doesn't have great nature access, so Wooden Warriors would be a little more impressive. Thunder Strikes. See, so he's bringing Thunderstrike mages, whereas he's bringing Astral Soulslayer, Mindburn, or whatever. But there are both higher numbers. Air Evocations is better. Look, I haven't seen a single. Now I'm seeing a couple of Mind Burns, and we've seen 30 to 40 air evocations already be cast from Vanheim. That's a huge imbalance. This army has already been devastated even before they meet this army of berserkers and sacreds. So just look at the difference in the number of mages, and half of these are communion slaves, right? Whereas he only needed one guy to go asleep casting Storm, and the rest is just doing evocations. So, Orb Lightning, great close range air spell. He doesn't have shock resistance, unfortunately. Wah, wah. He took swiftness. So just the mage support is much more significant. Plus, he managed to at least do Strength of Giants. I don't see Legions of Steel, but still. Okay, and then Maws of the Earth, a fantastic offense. Oh my god, look at that Maws of the Earth, destroying. Oh, what a great spell in this context. Really underused spell for Earth Mages. People like to make fun of Earth Magic because, oh yeah, Blade Winds is so bad when you have protection. Yeah, but Maws of the Earth, oh my, look at how devastating that was. So, by the way, Maws of the Earth, it deals damage, but it also reduces your defense because it sticks you to the ground. God, these guys are just being devastated. Oh. Honestly, I thought it was going to come up to, like, which are the better units, but this was a pure magic winning this fight here for Vanheim. He's got, like, a few Stellar Cascades are coming in. Like, that's going to do nothing. Stellar Cascades is not the right spell to be casting here. Okay, that was brutal. Absolutely brutal. Yeah, so he kills the big stack of Sacreds, all the Gog Reavers, all the units. The Mages run away eventually. He loses like almost nothing. Yeah, well done by Vanheim there. Okay, let's move on. Okay, there's a battle in Jotunheim. What was that battle? Was this a real fight? No. Oh, just a thug? Okay, so he sends a thug against my army. Because I have the item here, the Ghost Orb, I actually don't spend any gems during these fights. So he can, like, gem baiting me is not effective. Now, maybe he thinks he can actually do damage. So he's done quick himself. Oh, he just runs. Wailing Winds didn't even get off. I think he just ran from getting hit. Or maybe he was trying to gem bait. I don't know. Okay, we raid back a province here. Unexpected event in Jotunheim. Oh, that's funny. So an indie event shows up, and the knight's getting close, and then we get some friendly fire from our Iron Darts. So we lose a few more Guardians. That's unfortunate, but kind of inevitable. Okay, so what are we doing this turn? We are going to storm Jotunheim. Because we can. I think the script is basically the same. His monolith might be here, but he might have teleported it out if he's abandoning the capital. But I have a ton of Earth Mages. They're all in advance on cast spells, so they'll get in range and they'll shatter it, so I am not worried at all about the monolith. I don't think there's any other significant change to the script here. I also don't see... I mean, I see like some Gigias here. I see a Scrotty, so it's possible he can rally together like a force to try to save his capital. But it doesn't appear that he could put together something that's even as strong as his first army here that we defeated here in Jabero. Could be, we'll see. So we've got our little anti-thug squad. We're going to move up here. And we've got this squad here, which is going to move and patrol... No, just going to move into here. And we're going to try... we just got to reclaim provinces as our enemies take them to at least stay stable. And just keep building up our capacity. Once, now we've got 2 squads that are able to take this out. Eventually we'll move up to 3, we'll move up to 4. And the more squads we have, then the better we'll be able to control our own land. Meanwhile, we just keep knocking out forts here and reducing Jotunheim's ability to send stuff at us. And eventually we'll just control all his forts. And then it's just like we just have to outraid him with the provinces. Eventually, if a Scrotty meets this, it'll die, right? So he's the one who's got to be careful. Okay, let's load the next turn. That was turn 41. Let's load turn 42. Dire Portent, let's just take a look quickly what that was. Oh, Sea of Ice. So Vanarus puts up Sea of Ice. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's look at what happens in Jotunheim. Okay, so this is Jotunheim tries really hard to save his capital. And, except for the fact that he has no chaff, I mean, he has these Bone Fiends, so it's not nothing. But he doesn't have his big line of Sacreds. He has a ton of blood slaves, a big communion. So let's see, he's got one communion battery back there, another communion battery back there. He's got a bunch of little earth mages that are undoubtedly going to do swarm. There are a bunch of scratty thugs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, they're not all fully geared, but like almost all of them. Like some of them don't have full miscellaneous slots. But that's 7 almost fully geared scratty thugs. So when I say he doesn't have a chaff front line, that's because he doesn't need one. He has 7 geared scratty as his thugs. Are these thugged out too? No. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I said he doesn't have anything as strong as what he had before. Maybe that was incorrect. Oh, and he's doing summon imps at the beginning. Let's bring up the turn timer. Okay. So that was the first round. So he's just making a ton of imps. Imps are not a bad choice here because flying, I mean, if I had a bad formation, flying might kill my mages. Fortunately, I've placed packets of units all around, so that'll intercept most of the flyers. However, it does mean that my evocations are less likely to go and murder his communion and more likely to target, the close ranged units. So good call on the imps here. All right. We got a lot of spellcasting that got interrupted. Let me double check where that was from, because that might have been... I got Legions of Steel. Nothing has landed yet. Like, who's Saga? I'm just curious. Saga, okay, Gigya. Yeah, so it does, so my script is getting some effect. I didn't quite see it, but that turn 1 Iron Darts, has interrupted like a bunch of spells from the backline. So if that was like a key mage that was supposed to be communion mastering or whatever, he just gets hit by a crossbow bolt. It interrupts the spell, and that just kind of ruins your script. So that's really working out for me. Okay, he put up rigor mortis. Here come the imps. So this is let's just actually look at where the imps have landed. So you can see by having, oh wow, I've never seen, but look at I've paused it with the flails up in the air. I've actually never seen that specific like step in the animation, but that's really cool. Flails actually have 2 attacks. And that's almost reflected in the 2. I didn't realize it was like a double-headed flail. That's really cool. But you can see my mages are pretty well protected in here. This guy's getting hit a bit. But the imps aren't making a lot of contact with my mages. I'm sure there's some incidental contact, but that's not too bad. The screen is all red because I think that must be one of my curse of stones or whatever trying to go off. Okay. Here are some iron darts that are about to land down here. The imps have mostly been deleted. Let's take a look at these iron darts as they land. Okay, stuff is dying. This is the mages. Nothing has died yet. So I probably destroyed some blood slaves here. Oh, that wasn't nothing. Killed 1 cat mage, and this was probably just a priest. We also just deleted a lot of blood slaves that were around here, so certainly useful. The imps have mostly thinned out, but I like the imps. I think that was a good call on his part. That was a good part of the script. Now we are... we've done Temper Flesh. So we've done our buffs, and now we're just doing like Blade Wind and Iron Blizzards, and now the evocations are coming out. And we should have... Yeah, Wailing Winds is up. Oh, did we kill the one that did Rigor Mortis? Oh, that'd be hilarious. I think that's what happened. I think we killed the Rigor Mortis one, because Rigor Mortis isn't up anymore. Wow. Okay. So all the evocations decided to target this squad of Bone Devils, which just evaporated. So that's taken care of. Meanwhile, I think there's like a handful of imps left here, so that's fine. Horde of Skeletons, so the communion is, getting started here. All right, another swarm of evocations. I'm not sure what they're targeting. It looks like they're also targeting these Bone Devils over here. Now we have the Scrotty Thugs moving up. Yeah, exactly. This was on the Bone Devils, so those Bone Devils get deleted. But imagine if he didn't have those two squads, then those 2 rounds of evocations would have been like right on his core. So really key to have those squads there. We're seeing some morale issues because of Wailing Winds. So a few of the mages want to run away that were part of his communion. So I see 1, 2, 3. That one looks like it's facing the wrong way. Yep, I'm seeing a lot of communion masters here running away. Do we see? We'll take a look once they start retreating. Okay, so his thugs are about to make contact here. You can see we actually got one with Earth Meld. So my script, remember, has Earth Meld going off right about now, which is the correct timing, right, for their bust. Oh, see, like an Earth Meld hit back here. Now this, yeah, Vedi, so it's just hitting chaff. But it is pretty well timed for intercepting these thugs to kind of pin them in place for the evocations to do their work. Okay. Still summoning imps with all the blood slaves, which is a good use of blood slaves. So we've got one Gigia who's retreated. Okay, we're unloading onto these Scrotty. It looks like we killed one Scrotty, and one is retreating. So this guy's retreating. Unfortunately, he did not have the Axe of Hatred. And I think we just... Okay, and the Gigas in the back are the ones that we have... retreated from Wailing Winds. And we killed 2 werewolves from... Yep, from that. And another one. Yep, he also got a few magma bolts in there. So 2 of the frontline Scrotty just get evaporated. This guy is still here, but he doesn't have a shield. However, he's not going to run from morale. This guy's running away. This guy is still fine. So he's doing strong. Any other thugs coming our way? No, I think that's it. I think we counted 7 at first. So where are they now? I feel like we're missing one. There's 1, 2, 3. We killed 2. Where are the others? Oh, there's one here. Maybe he has some water gems. Maybe he was scripted to do like something. Oh, and here's the other one. Okay, so maybe these guys are still casting something. I'm not sure. Or still buffing, or they're just stuck in traffic. Okay, so those are the 2 other ones. All right, looks like we deleted another Scrotty or 2. Yep. We just deleted 2 more Scrotty with our Iron Blizzards. More Gigias are routing here. All the ones that are facing left are the ones that are routing. So although it looks like he's still got a huge Turbo Communion going, actually there's only the Communion slaves that are still there, and almost every single other mage here is retreating. These guys only have... Let's see if I can find one that's... These guys only have 12 morale, unless she has Battle Fright. No. They only have 12 morale. Yeah, base morale 11. Now they're in Friendly Dominion, but that's not a lot. Wailing Winds is really devastating here to his army. Really doing work for me. So although this is a ton of, like, this is a decent amount of skeletons, there's not going to be much more because all the casters have run away. Oh, also I cast Hell. So I decided I hadn't seen yet a foul vapors from him. So I was assuming for whatever reason he either didn't have the tech, and my answer to foul vapors wasn't, I couldn't yet cover my troops with enough poison resistance. So I figured, look, probably I'll just make the foul vapors caster run away or kill it with evocation. So I'll only take a few turns of poison, and he might not even cast it. So that was an argument against slotting in like a bit of poison resistance in the last 2 slots of my script. Howl, on the other hand, is fantastic against Skellis spam, and also maybe thugs in the back line. So because it's just going to make all his random crap go attack the wrong things. Okay, did we kill more? I think we've got. I think there are no more Scrotty on the front line. Oh, there's a thug here. And then there's the 2 late Scrotty. I don't mean late as in he passed away, although he is soon to be the late Scrotty. Okay, so there's a thug here who's earth melded, because that's a big spell. He just died. That was the Thermsagulagula, whatever they're called. This guy. Yep. Iron darts. So there's one thug up here. This is Aegir. Oh, he's a communion master. He must have cast some... He must have supposed... I think he was supposed to cast something. Maybe he got interrupted because he has water gems. Okay, so there's Aegir left, and then there's Svavner left in the back. Meanwhile, a lot of the mages have run away. So how's he doing over here? Bladewind's deleting all the skeletons. Fine shield. So we'll go back to this in a moment. Oh, here's the other thug walking up with his 2 axes. All right. Let's see if we can catch both of these here. Nice earth meld. Catches him right in the act. So it looks like my evocations are most... Oh, well, there we go. One guy decided to turn around and actually shoot that guy. But mostly they've been shooting the back row here. So now... Oh, geez, well... If you'll recall, there were a bunch of mages here. They are no longer here because our evocations are just shooting the back line. And that's because they can do that. So for one thing, they're on advance and cast spells. And they have definitely advanced, right? So that was actually something I came up in chat recently. Like the value of doing Farcaster on this as part of my Bless. And the idea being that if you did Farcaster, maybe they would just stay back and not advance to cast other spells. But they are advancing, which is really cool. If I put up the, not the grid, but at least the squares. I should have done that from the beginning, but here's the grid too. Like their max range on Iron Darts is actually, well, from here we can hit the back line, but it's less precise and there's more of a spread, but you can. So the question is, would the AI advance and then cast it just to get a tighter spread? And it appears it does. And this is nice because this spread here is still deadly enough, but even with the buff precision, I'm not just doing like all the arrows into one square, which is probably not what you want. For the backline, you want to spread it around to interrupt as many mages as possible. But being up here, like, look, I don't know, I don't remember exactly what's going to happen, but I suspect, like, look at all these guys. Okay, let's see. Do you guys think he's about to get destroyed by like 70 million Iron Darts? I think so. Let's see what happens. Maybe it's just Guardians that kill him. Yeah, look, my guys are all shooting the backline still. That's an interesting... yeah, he just gets killed by Guardians. But can you imagine if these guys had targeted him at that range, the precision, like all of the bolts hit him. That would have been absolutely devastating. Instead, we're devastating the backline, killing all the slaves. See, this is a perfect spread for the backline, right? It just like hits, like you're putting like 5 bolts in every square. Apparently we're doing gifts from heaven too for some reason. Yeah, just deleting that. Lovely. Okay, so the moral of the story is Wailing Winds is amazing, and my whole build, which was get the Allfather to go around rampaging with Wailing Winds, turned out to be a fantastic choice, and that makes me really, really happy. Even though I'm in a really rough position in this game, like these fights are just fantastic. It's, as the famous quote goes, I love it when a plan comes together. And this is exactly that, a plan coming together. Okay, let's see how much we took in damage. We lost frontline troops, right? 22 Guardians, which, look, this is not nothing. This is, I guess, 400 gold. I mean, obviously, we killed a ridiculous number of stuff. We killed 8 werewolves. You're getting a ton of gear. I have so much. By the way, I'm getting all this gear from Scotty. I'm like turning around and selling it to anybody who wants it in the game for gold, which is what I need. Yeah, fantastic. It was a great fight. Okay, so that happened. Then we actually stormed the fort, but there's nothing left. Obviously, he patrolled outside, so we take the fort with no problems. Anything here? I patrolled out on Jabero. He had 3 thugs there, but I assumed correctly that he wouldn't just stick on, like, there's no point in sieging down a fort with 3 thugs unless you're baiting the attack. So I just poked out with like a scout and a horse tribe, and we got the province back. Okay. Okay, I got a little bit sidetracked there, sorry. And I've lost my train of thought, but a victory for us in Jotunheim. So what happens next? We are continuing to, try and solidify our hold on our own lands over here. We've killed a lot more Scotty, but there are still some running around. We suspect. Here's one over here. So, yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. By the way, I just want to touch on our research. Most of my mage corps is, well, not most, maybe most, half of my mage corps is out here with my main army. And a lot of my forts have been under siege recently, so I haven't been able to keep building mages, not that I could afford to. But my only hope really of getting anywhere in Magic is, in research, is getting Construction 6 and starting to make lanterns. So that's what we're working on. Desperately trying to get up to Construction 6. My research is really behind because I've had to move my mages a lot this game. It looks like Vanheim, so Vanheim took this fort and then he's moved here with his big army. It's not clear to me if he wants to attack here. I suspect not, because he's still engaged with Ind, and Ind's capital is nearby, so be bold, to say the least. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we have taken Jotunheim's capital, and basically he can't touch this army. I mean, it's being whittled away at a little bit, right? I've lost some frontline units. So I'm going to send a few reinforcements. That's why we're joining up here in Griffa. But by reinforcing periodically with a few, plate dudes in front, I think we'll be fine. And if worse comes to worse, we can also stick a few earth gems in there and do earth elementals. And to be honest, the amount of stuff he can throw at me is now severely diminished. I think that was the last of his major forces. What we're going to do is we're going to go down here and we're going to take this fort and then this fort. And it's the reason we have to take this fort is because right now there is, like, if East went for like a throne rush or just wanted to win, then this is definitely a fort that is easily attainable for him. And now that Jotunheim is all spent on me, Jotunheim is in no position to defend it. So I have to secure this throne. Now, right now, I'm not at war with East, and I don't, like, we have a nap 3, so, if you're doing a throne rush, sometimes you just break your naps and just win the game, and that's a part of Dominions, and that's okay, and that player might choose to do that. But at the very least, it would protect this throne from East with the power of diplomacy. And this throne is still kind of mine in name, although not in fact, so I'd like to retake it one day. But fortunately, only Jotunheim really has access to it for now. So that is something that I'll be able to retake at some point. But it would be important to fort this up and to defend it. So I would like to kill Jotunheim off. I don't know. That might be a very long-term prospect for me because with so little economy, it's hard to generate enough troops to solidly hold on to this land. However, I can just gradually take more and more of his forts and assert dominance over this part of the map. And if this Doom stack is able to take some forts here and exert control over this area, I don't have to have the army fully stationed here and garrisoned here. It can be active, but always be ready to respond to a threat down here. Plus, I have my Pretender who can magic phase and do stuff like that. Okay, let's move on. Let's get a few more turns in here. That was turn 42. Turn 43. Let's see. Battle in Copper Woods. Oh, we're just clearing out some indie stuff. Okay, a thug attacks in Jabero. Another thug here. And another thug here. So there are 3 active thugs that we know of. Okay, let's talk about that in just a moment. So let's talk about game state and sort of diplomacy. So if you recall, Vanarus from way back was telling everybody, hey, we need to get together to fight East. Of course, what he actually meant was, hey, you guys need to go fight East because I can't fight him because I'm too busy fighting Bandarlog and not quite winning. Now, what has happened... So Vanarus had a border here with East because East took over Pythium. But Vanarus was busy fighting Bandarlog. And, I don't imagine Bandarlog ever agreeing to peace terms with Vanarus because he took most of his stuff. So Vanarus was stuck in there. So he wanted and needed everybody else to attack East. But we already talked about how that didn't happen and the reasons why that didn't happen. Now East was looking for his next target, and he has chosen Vanarus. And so now Vanarus did put up Sea of Ice a couple turns ago. That was his contribution to the effort to slow down East. Now, of course, we actually contribute. I don't know if I mentioned it. I might not have mentioned it. We actually sent 50 water gems over to Vanarus to contribute to the effort. I don't know if other people. I don't know how much other people sent, but we sent a little bit. Or 50 water gems is a lot. So that certainly does slow down East to a certain extent. It limits the amount of Movarks he can bring, but he can magic phase a lot of his thugs out, I think. Yeah. So, in fact, this was actually the case last turn. So it might have been 2 turns ago that this started. But you see that all this territory here is there's the Eastian flag everywhere. Yeah, in fact, I don't remember the exact turn that this happens on. Well, the Eastern flag here, that's normal. This is because he took over Satis, right, which is here. But here, it's not surprising he can raid very effectively. East can. So he's taken over like most of Vanarus's land. So basically, Vanarus was fighting a 1v1 with Bandarlog, not quite succeeding, and then East came and slammed into him, which makes a lot of sense from East's perspective. So what were East's choices? Let's rewind 2 turns ago, right? I don't know to what extent East was aware of the diplomacy between Vanheim and Ind. Had East attacked Vanheim, would, the risk is that Ind would have stopped attacking Vanheim and turned on East. The other possibility is that Ind would just take the opportunity and conquer more of Vanheim. But that's getting dangerous because Vanheim has a number of thrones here and here, which East could easily grab, getting him, pretty close to the throne victory. So Ind does border East over here, and at the very least has a play on this throne here. So that might be what East was fearing in terms of attacking Vanheim. And similarly, well, actually, East doesn't have much reason to attack into Ind, because East is in a position where he's thinking about winning. And the only thrones that Ind controls really are these guys, and they're really deep into Ind's territory. So really, when you think about it, Ind never really had to fear strategically, on the strategic level, at this point in the game, an attack from East. Now, East could attack me, but that was made more awkward since Vanheim raided all these provinces, so he can no longer access me this way. He could charge in like this, take this land and secure this throne from Jotunheim. That was a possibility, but logistically that'd be super hard for him to pull off because all of his stuff is on the east coast of the lake, and it's really hard logistically to, all his sieging troops are not underwater troops. So at best he can do Movarks, but then there's Sea of Ice up. So actually this is totally not an option for him. Logistically, this is just completely impossible. He has to attack something along this coast. It could have been Bandar Log. Fighting Bandar Log. Now, Vanheim has already... The thing is, Van Roos has already taken this throne. And I think with the war between the two, the territories were a little mixed up. And so possibly East didn't have a good access to getting Bandar Log. And getting Bandar Log certainly is a thing. I mean, that would have netted him another cap. He probably could attack it from the north as well. And then that could have been a stepping stone to then going after Van Roos. Going after Van Roos makes a ton of sense, though, because Bandar Log is not going to suddenly peace out and attack East, because Bandar Log has a few provinces left. He's not super relevant at this point. Only as a way, he's relevant in that he's a way for people to lose troops if they try to attack him. So, I totally get East's move here on Van Roos, his choice of Van Roos as the next target, and that's for a couple of reasons. One of which is that Van Roos controls these two thrones. So right now, East controls the underwater throne here, this throne over here, this throne over here. So that's 3. And by the way, so let's Thrones of Ascension. So we need 6 thrones to win the game. Okay, so he controls. Well, he has claimed 2 of the thrones, but he controls 3. So there's, I think, Misfortune he didn't claim. Or no, this is Misfortune. I forget. Hang on. This is Bureaucracy. Yeah, I think maybe he hasn't claimed Misfortune because he didn't want the Scales penalty. So East currently controls these 3 thrones. By defeating Van Roos, he would gain access to this throne, and then he would only need 1 more to win. And on his borders, he has access to this throne from Vanheim. This one's a little, nestled in a little further. These 2 from Ind are also pretty hard to get to. This one on the coast, logistically, is very hard to get to, although nothing's impossible. This one is hard to get to. Now, in its current state, he could just magic face it and capture it. So it's kind of my job to make sure that doesn't happen. But there's really an easy choice here in terms of getting this one from Vanheim. And honestly, if East had taken over Van Roos, then he completely surrounds Vanheim here. So I think this is an important point to make in terms of the state of the game. I'm not privy to all the Diplo and his thinking, but just looking at the map vision that I have right now, I can totally predict, and could have predicted, I kind of did in game while I was playing this. But even going back 5 turns ago, looking at the map, I could, if I was East, I would kill Van Roos, get these 2 thrones, and then just take this one from Vanheim and win the game. Like, that is, I think, a very predictable move and a good move, a solid move. Now, Vanheim, all right, so that's what's going to happen. So, given my knowledge of that, let's assume everybody has knowledge and enough vision to deduce that that's going to happen. Are players doing the right thing to win the game? Because everybody is trying to win the game. So in order to win the game, either you throne rush before the leader of the game can win, or you have to stop the leader. So have people reacted accordingly so far? Well, Vanaroos was stuck because he had failed in his first war against Bandar Log. He is not in a position. He could never peace out. Like, even if we had put together a great coalition to kill Ys, he could not have joined it and fought him here because Bandar Log would never have peaced out with him. So Vanaroos would still be fighting Bandar Log while we were fighting other stuff. So his hands are kind of tied. Now, he tried to Diplo all the players, but his Diplo skills were insufficient, and so he was not able to get them to attack Ys. Did Vanheim, assuming he has this knowledge, and, honestly, we shared, Vanaroos at minimum was giving enough information for people to know what's going on, and people have scouts, so people have vision, and they should know this. Did Vanheim make the right plays? Well, I don't think so. Going back to what I said earlier, I think Vanheim should have carved out Satis here. And why that's relevant in the endgame is because, first of all, it means Ys is a bit smaller, a bit weaker, has 1 less cap, right? That's relevant. But it also means that your throne here isn't as exposed. So Vanheim fighting me here is what, in effect, precipitated In's war against him. So if Vanheim had taken Satis, he probably would still be chilling, and Ind might still be chilling. Now, Vanheim might have, the timing here, there was certainly a window of opportunity. If Vanheim takes Satis, I think Ys would still go after Vanaroos. That makes sense. But then there's the possibility that Vanheim and Ind together could attack Ys, and that would have sort of slowed him down enough. And, getting coalitions to fight the leader is always tricky because you have to be guaranteed as a participant that you're going to get something out of it. But in this case, you would totally get something out of it. I'm busy fighting Jotunheim, so I'm not going to vulture anything. In theory, Vanheim could get a chunk of territory here, and Ind could get a chunk of territory here. So there's plenty to gain for both of these players. More importantly, we're playing to win. You have to win the game. And in order to win the game, Ys can't win the game. And right now, not doing anything is letting Ys win the game. Now, what about Jotunheim? Now, Jotunheim started his war with me a bit further back, so it's a little less clear that he would have had the information required to know that, Ys is now going to go after Vanaroos and then after Vanheim. But honestly, Jotunheim couldn't really go after Ys. So Jotunheim had to pick a target. That target was either going to be Ind or myself. And I don't fault him for going after me. I don't know to what extent he had collaboration with Vanheim. But even if he didn't, the war turned out poorly for him. But the strategic decision, what are your giants are going to go after a massive astral nation? That doesn't seem like a great choice, right? Even though he has MR in his bless. So I totally see this making sense from him because he doesn't really have the logistical ability to affect Ys. So the least he can do is get bigger, swallow and secure a few more thrones, and then maybe he has borders with Ys and he can do something later on. He kind of can't really act in that department. Now, before I got 2v1'd, had the possibility to join, to fight Pythium to fight Ys over here in Pythium. But obviously, when I got attacked, then I could no longer participate, right? Like I've been stuck in the war with Jotunheim, so I was out of the picture in terms of dealing with Ys. So what can I do at this point? Like, how do I win the game, right? Obviously, it's very unlikely at this point, but what do I have to do to win the game? I have to not die, right? And I have to keep growing any way I can. So anything I do that keeps me alive is fair game, right? And if I can, through diplomacy or other means, help, to organize a coalition against East, then great. Like, but I can't, like, I have to try to live and grow myself, right? So what's the best outcome for me is that there is a coalition against East. Perhaps Vanheim and Ind and Vanarus band together. See, before a few turns ago, we kind of thought, oh, Vanarus is going to defend a little bit against East, but he kind of gets overrun by East. But imagine a scenario where Vanarus, Ind, and Vanheim all take a chunk out of East. Then you have 4 powers, roughly of the same strength. East, Ind, Vanheim, Vanarus. Meanwhile, I'm still fighting with Jotunheim. Maybe I win that war, and then we can progress into the late game. Obviously some powers will be ahead of others, but there's a path to victory for me that way. So that's kind of what I have to hope happens, but I have very little control over whether it actually does happen. Let's get a couple more turns in here. That was turn 43. Let's see if we can get to turn 45 in this episode. Okay, werewolf. More thugs. More thugs. We kill a werewolf here. So we intercept a werewolf with our dudes. Oh, it's not a werewolf. It's just a geared thug. Oh, it's not a thug. Where's the... Oh, here's a werewolf. Aha. Okay, so his standard werewolf kit. This guy has heroic toughness. 113 hit points. And so he's regenerating like 23 per turn. And you see Vine Shield is doing a lot of work. Now we have barbs in here. We have a lot of stuff in here. So let's see how he died. He just died to guardians and barbarians with big weapons, eventually killing him. So with Strength of Giants, my troops were able to break out of the Vine Shield enough times and then just chunk him down with just huge two-handed weapons and kill him. That's pretty much all there is to it. Earth Meld and support. That's why the Earth Mages were key here, because they buffed my guys with the right spells and provided a bit of support with things like Earth Meld. And so that's it. Vans kill some barbarians, and that's it. Okay. Jotunheim raids back on top of Jotunheim, which I now control. But I've moved on to bigger and greater things, and we are now sieging down this fort here. And he has also moved on to my cap with a werewolf, so we are going to move back and hopefully get it, but he'll probably run away. And we're going to see if we can intercept it here if he happens to move out in this province. And we're going to try to retake some land over here. Notice that Vanheim and Ind are still fighting over here. Meanwhile, Vanarus is almost no more. Turn 44. Let's go to turn 45. Okay, so he ran away in Ulm. All the thugs moved to Jabero. And we we break the walls here, so we're going to storm this castle. He actually can't really breach these walls. 718, we got a round of dude recruitment inside, so we actually have some siege defense, and all he's got are like Vedi archers, which are size 1 units and have no strength and no siege power. And we're starting to have some semblance of control over our lands back. Van can't really afford to raid us because he's busy fighting Ind. And right now, Jotunheim is a little bit worried about losing his thugs, and so he's no longer sending them out alone, which is smart. But that also means that I can't really send out. I have to make bigger raiding parties, because if I run into like 3 Scrotty, that's going to be bad news. So I've got to kind of consolidate my anti-raiding party, or like in this case, be super efficient with it, and we'll have to see if that works. The idea, though, is that these guys are going to be reinforcements for this army, so we're going to take the fort, move here, and then next turn we'll move on to the throne over there. That is at least the thought process. I'm pretty sure we got construction 6. Yeah, we got construction 6, so we're making, we're starting to make lanterns. So go us. And I think that's going to be it in terms of the turns that we're going to fit into this episode. We'll try to get it under an hour. So, I mean, if we ignore the fact that Ys is just rampaging through Vanarus and nobody's doing anything about it, things are going well. I mean, they're going better than they were 8 turns ago. I'm happy with how things are going with Jotunheim. Given enough time, I would win this war. But do we have enough time? That is the question. Now, some of you might be saying, wait a minute, isn't it you who convinced Ind to attack Vanheim? Well, yes, but like, I had to. Otherwise, I was going to die, right? Like, it's... If I can't... Like, Vanheim was attacking me. He was not going to go and attack Ys when he could just attack me. I get that, right? And then Ind was thinking of vulturing me, and he was certainly not going to go and attack Ys 1v1. At bet, so had I at that time tried to get both of them together to fight Ys, that diplomatically was impossible, because they didn't trust each other. I mean, they obviously still don't trust each other. And I had to live, so it's no point, like, stopping Ys isn't good if I'm dead, because I have to win, right? That's the point. And I should mention that it's Vanarus who, for 20 turns, has been trying to get people to fight Ys, and it's sort of like, I felt during a lot of this game that, like, I was, okay, so I had a bad start with Pythium, so I wasn't in a dominant position, and because that made me look weak, I was an easy target for Jotunheim, so that all makes sense. So I'm, like, fighting for survival. It's not my job, my responsibility to get people together to attack the leader. Like, people have to kind of grow up and be the adult in the room. Everybody has to do that individually, right? I guess we have to become a room full of adults, right? And not a room full of immature people who bear grudges. And I don't mean that, like, in terms of name calling of anybody, but, like, if you want to win the game, you have to do whatever it takes to win the game, right? And if your current path does not lead you to victory because circumstances have changed, then you have to change the path that you're on, right? So I think that Vanheim and Ind should be listening to Vanarus. Probably should have listened to him sooner, but ever since the war started between them, they did not want to stop the war. So I know that Ind felt that he could win against Vanheim. Now, I didn't see enough of all of the battles to know whether that's, accurate or not. From what I saw, it did not appear accurate. It doesn't look like Ind had what it takes to kill Vanheim. But Ind felt that he could do it. So let's imagine that you're Ind. You feel you could take on Vanheim. Does it then make sense, given this context, to continue that war? In some context, in some situations, yes. But I think in this situation, no. Because given the timing of this, even if you feel eventually you will beat Vanheim, by the time you beat Vanheim, Ys is going to have defeated Vanarus completely and gotten these 2 thrones. And at that point, Ys just takes this throne and wins the game. And there's no way, even if you feel you're going to beat Vanheim, there's no way you beat him so thoroughly and so quickly that you get here and fortify this before Ys is done with Van Roos, because he's almost already done. So that is actually sort of incorrect. Like, even if you are correct as Ind in believing that you can defeat Vanheim, it is still the incorrect decision to pursue this war, because you're going to lose the game, because Ind is going to win before you. That's a tough pill to swallow if you're Ind, because you feel like you're being robbed out of the opportunity to gain land here, right? So maybe you offer terms to Vanheim. You say, look, I could beat you, but I won't, because we've got to fight Ys, so give me this land, right? So incidentally, this was my fort before this all started, and Vanheim took it. Now, Vanheim was like, I'm not losing this, because Vanheim doesn't think that Ind can beat him. In fact, Vanheim feels pretty confident about his fight against Ind. So what about Vanheim's decision? He is not willing to cede this fort to Ind. Now, he took this fort from me. It wasn't his to begin with, but fine, right? He's not willing to cede this to Ind, and he's going to keep fighting Ind, and to have control of this fort. But again, he's missing the bigger picture, because as soon as Ys is done with Van Roos here, Ys is for sure going to come and take his fort down here and end the game. So Vanheim is also not seeing the bigger picture here. Yeah, and that's all really there is to say about it here. Meanwhile, Jotunheim, like, there isn't really a realistic way for Jotunheim and myself to make peace. And the other thing to mention is that we don't really have an easy way to go and affect Ys in terms of thrones specifically. So maybe Jotunheim could make a play over here. Maybe. I could fight back Van and go through Python here, but like we are a little bit further removed from the borders with Ys, and in terms of slowing down his throne victory, there's not much that we can do. Okay, once again, we've gone on long enough. I've been trying to fit 5 turns in per episode, but since we're getting into the thick of things, it's making for pretty long episodes. But that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care.